Jay Cohen, Associated Press. How would you assess the knowledge you guys have of this course at this point, given that certainly looks like it's going to be a dry weekend here, so less of a wetness of factor, and then obviously a year of wear and tear in Chicago in the winter and everything that goes along with winter. So what would you say about what you guys know about this course after running it a year?
Yeah, we know it's bumpy, and it's bumpier than we thought it was last year. We haven't, they did repave a couple sections, so there's that piece that's going to be different. But be interesting to see. Even the things that you think could be different when you get out there, as far as like wall placement, right? Like, how do you know they set the apexes of the corner the same angle of the wall and all that? Like, it could be different when you get there. I'm sure, these roads are used every day, right? Racetrack roads are not used very often, right? So you got a lot of heavy trucks and things, and I'm sure it doesn't get smoother over time. I'm sure, to your point, a winter and, the pounding of what is the streets of Chicago is probably going to be bumpier than last year. But we'll have to see, right? Like I said, even you think of turn 9, 10, 11 around the I always call it the moon, the half moon area there. All those walls, the way they place them would change a lot of how we get through there. So we'll have to just wait and see.
We'll go to Noah, and then we'll wrap with Shane in the back.
Noah Poser, Northwestern. You've built up a reputation of running well each time at a new track, notably winning in the inaugural Bristol Dirt and Gateway races, and then finishing in the top 10 here last year. What goes on in the lead up back at the shop that allows you to be so strong out of the gate at these places compared to your competitors?
I get that question a lot. I never have a good answer for you. Just outside of we try to think of it from an old school approach of just going off of history of tracks that we think may be similar and things I think we'll need. I think Paul and I both do a good job at adapting quickly. It seems like, the first couple laps on the racetrack, most of the time I can adapt really quick to at least get us in the ballpark. And then you kind of fine tune, find a little bit here and there. But I think the first chunk of speed, usually we can figure it out fairly quickly.
We'll go ahead and take our last question in the back from Shane.
Joey, Samuel Stubbs, yardbarker.com. You mentioned you win that race at Nashville, you're locked into the playoffs, and it kind of seems like both years that you've won the championship in 2018 and 2022, you kind of flew under the radar, turned up the wick in the playoffs, and there you are holding that cup. So with that win, you probably haven't had exactly the season you've wanted, but you have that win, you're in the postseason field. Do you feel like you and Paul on this team that has that big game experience, that championship pedigree, do you think you can go out and be a legitimate contender once the postseason rolls around?
Absolutely. Yeah, we always think we can win the championship. There's a lot of stepping stones and things you got to do to get there, but you bring it up plenty of times that, as far as you think of 2018, and I've said it before, I remember having the conversation with my wife just saying, gosh, I hope we get through the first round of this playoffs, because that's how I felt we were from a speed perspective. And then all of a sudden it got better and we go on and win the whole thing. And she reminds me all the time, you just remember what you said in 18. I'm like, okay, honey, I got you. So it's, but she's right. You just got to stay around, right? The whole, you got to be in it to win it is so real with our playoffs. Are we seeded the best, going into the playoffs right now? No. Right. We don't have enough playoff points. The cards are stacked a little bit against us from that perspective. But I've also seen plenty of times where if you can just be solid, get through the rounds, win the races that matter, if you're around long enough for the speed knob to get turned up, it happened to the 12 last year, right? He got through the rounds just as he needed to, and by the time it was game time, boom, the speed showed up and he won the championship. We did that in 18. We did it in 22. Hopefully we do it again this year.